Thank you, Lascancola. The Land and Conveyancing Law Reform Bill removes minister deadlines for the registration of easement, or as most people call it, rights-of-way. Under current legislation, certain rights-of-way had to be registered before the 30th of November 2021 to avail of a registration scheme. It will remove current statutory deadlines for the registration of rights-of-way. In particular, the Rural Independent Group welcomes this bill and will be supporting it. In fact, many deputies within our group have been calling for removal of the deadline date to register a right-of-way, as it was causing a great deal of stress and anxiety across rural communities, Minister. This matter was a cause of great concern for many rural dwellers. In fact, if the concerns we relayed to the government were not acted upon, then a large volume of unnecessary court cases to protect rights which have been enjoyed for generations would have occurred. Equally, the entire matter had the potential of causing a lot of bitterness between neighbours, expensive legal costs and added court backlogs. I welcome the decision taken by the Government, which essentially means that the law applicable to easement and right-of-ways will largely be reverted to the common law that applied before the 2009 Act. I welcome the fact that a full-time bound review to identify the most appropriate long-term strategy for rights-of-way will now be undertaken. However, common sense, workability and practicality must be at the heart of any revised solution, Minister. Costs of solicitors for people to register right-of-way. This is a huge concern to people that were ringing my office, and they were worried about the cost and how far would it go before they could find out exactly what it was going to cost them and the time it was going to take to get this done in the courts. And the courts are tied up in quite a lot already, Minister, and hadn't the time to deal with these issues as well. The difficulties always, which was going to be a massive concern, was between neighbours, and neighbours being sometimes friends, could turn very bitter in relation to right-of-ways. It has down for generations, and there was a strong possibility that it would happen here again. And obviously, it could turn out that there would be planning and issues and everything could come into play here. I listened to different deputies speaking here today. It made an awful lot of sense, a lot of them. I was listening to Deputy Crowe there about graveyards, and the surrounds of graveyards, and no public right-of-way to maybe to an older graveyard. That may not be used that often, but can be used sometimes. And I would say also, even though it's a slightly different issue, is the condition of some of those graveyards today is scandalous, and it's sad to think that how many people contact me. I have one in Castlebear recently, and I don't know, their engineer doesn't seem to be interested in putting someone in there to clean it up, and it's sad to think that people, hard-working people, live their life, and when they died, their burial place is neglected because it's not a graveyard being used every day of the week. Right-of-ways, and obviously we've been telling quite a lot about woods and quilt and forestry. I brought that up myself yesterday about Ballymartle Woods in Cork, where it badly affects the people of Kinsale, Belgooly and Riverstick. I brought that up to the Taoiseach. In fairness, he can't come back to me that quick, and Quilta have come back to me saying that they're not going to sell all of the lands, they'll sell some of the lands. That's their intention. But the people of Ballymartle are adamant that the woods wouldn't be sold. And we had a situation that Deputy Bard spoke about earlier on in Enniskerry, where that sale was stopped. And I would again be pleading with the government to step in here, because Quilta are a state agency, and people use those forestry and those wooded areas for walks and green areas and amenities. It's good for their mental health and physical health, and I would like for Quilta to meet with the people of Ballymartle and allay those fears, and maybe withdraw the sale of those woods, and maybe consider giving some of the woods to the local community there. I'd like to talk about the walks, the Sheep's Head walks and different things, and I think back, and I shouldn't maybe name people, James O'Mahony, who was probably the first person that ever mentioned about rural walks, and down the Sheep's Head Way, an area that won the best walks in Ireland in 1996. So why wouldn't it be, when you're walking the Sheep's Head Way in Kilcrahan and Durras, and you look out across at the Mizzen and the Beara Peninsula, you kind of enter into a kind of a phase of you're entering into heaven. And James O'Mahony led that charge many years ago, talking to people when they never understood what a walkway would be like going through their farm. I made that fabulous walkway in the Sheep's Head Way, and we need to commend him and others that have done so. Thank you.